Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Johns Hopkins School of Education, Master of Science in Education, Digital Age Learning and Educational Technology Virtual Information Session. My name is Sion John. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. And also here with me, I have my colleague from the Office of Admissions, and he will introduce himself.
Thank you so much, Sion. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here with us today for our DALET information session. My name is James McCarty. I'm the Associate Director of Admission here at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. And my important message or takeaway for all of you today is to stay connected. My role in admissions, I'm the liaison for the DALET program for admissions. And I want you to all understand that you are never, ever going through this process alone. I look forward to connecting with all of you after the session today to answer any follow-up questions that you have. And I'd love to set up a one-on-one Zoom appointment, phone appointment, or even just to communicate via email. So please don't ever hesitate to stay connected and know that you are never, ever going through this process alone. Enjoy the program today, and I look forward to connecting with all of you soon. Back to you, Sion.
Thank you, James. And finally, presenting today, we have Professor and Program Lead for the DALET program, Dr. Jim Diamond. And before we get started, I would like to cover a few housekeeping topics. First, today's webinar is being recorded. We'll be able to share the link to the recorded video within 1 week. And there will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Please type your question in the Q&A box and we'll answer your questions. I would like to share the agenda for today's virtual information session. We'll kick off the presentation sharing an overview of the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Then Dr. Diamond will go over the information on the DALET program. And lastly, we'll wrap it up with admissions requirements, go over financial aid and scholarship, and we'll leave the floor open for questions at the end. And to start, we're one of 9 schools at Johns Hopkins University. We began offering college courses for teachers in 1909, and then we became our own school in 2007. We're proud to share that the Johns Hopkins School of Education is consistently ranked one of the top schools in education by the U.S. News and World Report, And for school enrollment, we have approximately 1,741 students. And we offer 25 graduate programs, and that includes our doctoral, master's, and graduate certificate programs. And we have a network of over 24,000 SOE alums. Dr. Diamond is a faculty lead for the DALET program. Dr. Diamond has a BA and a master's from Boston University. He has his PhD from New York University. Dr. Diamond is a researcher in the field of digital media and learning, focused on the use of educational games to enrich K-12 learning and teaching for students and teachers. Dr. Diamond's experience also includes educational research, design, and evaluation. And Dr. Diamond's areas of interest include K-12 history, social studies, and civics education, STEM education, computational thinking, and disciplinary literacy. And lastly, Dr. Diamond's research has been funded by the National Science Foundation, the MacArthur's Foundation, HASAC, Digital Media and Learning Initiative, the Gates Foundation, and the Robin Hood Learning and Technology Fund. And at this time, I'll hand the floor over to Dr. Diamond. Welcome.
Sion, thank you so much for that introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. It's very nice to be here with you today. As always, I'm excited to discuss my program. I'm excited to have potential students who are interested in our program, and I'm especially excited to hear about your questions and your thoughts about the field of educational technology. We're going to take a couple of minutes to give you a broad overview of what the Digital Age Learning and Educational Technology program in the Johns Hopkins School of Education is about, what our curriculum is, what we teach, what some of our courses look like, what pursuits our students are engaged in, both current and past. And then we'll have time after the presentation for your questions. Let me say quickly before we begin the presentation, I do think it is a very exciting time to be considering graduate work in the field of educational technology. The use of digital technology at this point is obviously not new in any area of education, be it K-12, be it adult education in formal settings or informal settings such as museums. But we are arriving at a point, and by we, I mean at a global level at this point, we are at a point in which the use of digital technologies is essentially ubiquitous in all areas of education. So these tools are present in all areas of our educational lives. And it is especially important for educators, whether you're classroom educators or whether you're thinking about becoming instructional designers in corporate settings or elsewhere, or whether you're thinking about becoming an informal educator in places like museums, for example. It's very important for people to be pursuing studies in the design of these technologies and thinking about how the designs of these technologies can promote personalized learning experiences, for example. Think about how the designs of these technologies can help educators further their own practices in pursuing learning goals for their students, to think about how organizations can use these technologies to help their students, to help their employees collaborate and be creative together and express themselves. The field of instructional design and technology is growing. It has been growing for some number of decades now. And the forecast suggests that at least through the end of this decade, it will continue to grow, that any number of industries will continue to demand the kinds of skills and competencies and knowledge and dispositions that you will acquire as you go through a program, a graduate program in educational technology. So I applaud your decision to be thinking about graduate education in this space. It's obviously no small decision. It's a significant investment of your own time, your financial resources, your emotional resources. And so I also applaud your decision to participate in these kinds of events in which you are learning as much as you can. The last thing I'll say is this is an overview session, right? It's fairly brief. You will get a high-level overview of the program, but as James stated at the top of the presentation, I too am happy to be in discussion with you, to be in conversation with you as you make your decision, not only necessarily about this program. I'm happy that you're considering my program, but I'm also happy to be in conversation with you as you're thinking about other programs as well. It's critical, as you know, that your graduate program is a good fit, because you're going to be spending a lot of time and you're going to be putting a significant amount of your resources into it. So with that, we'll begin the presentation, and I look forward to your questions. Okay, so the DALET program, Digital Age Learning and Educational Technology, is a completely online program, meaning all of your courses, everything that you do in the program is in this type of space, right? It's carried out via a learning management system. We offer a Master of Science in Education master's degree, which is a 36 credit degree, 12 courses. We also offer a graduate certificate in leadership in technology integration, which is a 15 credit graduate certificate. Most of our students complete their degree or certificate in 1 or 2 years' time. The majority of our students are part-time. They are working professionals, most likely like yourselves, typically taking 1 or 2 courses a semester, often 1 course a semester for certificate students, 2 courses a semester for degree students. And we offer courses in the spring, summer, and fall, and indeed we admit students in the spring, summer, and fall. Next slide, please. So instructional design and technology, which is where this educational technology program sits, is a very, very broad area, is a very, very broad career trajectory, as you might imagine. And as such, programs like ours bring in students from many different fields. So we have students thinking about graduate work come from areas such as K-12 education, K-12 school leadership, people who are either currently working or thinking about working as instructional technologists in any number of industries. Higher education professionals, both current faculty members, people who might be thinking about becoming faculty members, people who work as instructional technologists, instructional designers, media producers within higher education are interested in the types of knowledge, skills, and competencies that we're developing in this program. People who lead organizations, nonprofit organizations, profit organizations across industries, education consultants, which happens in a very great many industries and sectors, and then online course developers as well. So, and the list does not end there, right? But again, instructional design and technology is a very broad field. And so this type of program lends itself to people who are coming from a great number of areas and who have a very diverse range of educational backgrounds themselves. Next slide, please. So we average about 130 active graduate students at any given time. Typically, our students are about 2/3 female, 1/3 male. As you can see, the majority of our students are usually K-12 classroom teachers. So 60 to 70% of our students at any time are in the K-12 classroom, typically pursuing their first graduate degree in this field of educational technology. These teachers tend to be early to mid-career. If they're mid-career, they're on the earlier side of mid-career. So we typically see teachers who are in the classroom 3 to 5 years, who are pursuing their graduate studies in this field. And we also have a number of not only career changers, but people who work in other professions, but who are interested in becoming educators within their profession. So for example, in the past few years, we have had and currently have several physicians who are pursuing graduate degrees in educational technology. So they are working physicians, but they're also interested in becoming educators of other physicians and developing a skill set specifically using digital technologies to support the education of future physicians. Similarly, we've had lawyers in the past, working people currently employed as lawyers, also interested in becoming educators who use digital technologies to prepare future people, either future lawyers or others working within the legal profession. Next slide, please. It is an online program, which means that we tend to draw students from many different regions, not just in the United States of America, but all across the world. This is just a snapshot of where some of our students are. It certainly does not capture all of the countries from which our students hail, nor does it capture all of the states in the US from which students hail. But I think this gives you a sense that our students are, in fact, all over the place, which is one of the benefits of an online asynchronous program such as this. Next slide, please. So as I've mentioned, this is an online program. What you see here is a screenshot of what a course looks like in the Canvas learning management system, which is where all of the school's online programs live. And a learning management system, at this point, most of you have probably used them, but it really is a kind of virtual classroom, right? Everything that you do will begin at the learning management system, the platform for any lectures, for any assignments, for any group work, for any communication between you and an instructor typically begins within the learning management system. So everything is here, right? And the fundamental unit is a course. Every course has its own shell within the learning management system, and all your work will go on there. Now, much of the work in this program is asynchronous, meaning that you are not meeting with students and instructors at the same time regularly. That is happening across courses and across the program. You will be expected to meet with your classmates regularly. You will be expected to attend lectures or to attend group activities during class time. But those happen less regularly because the program is primarily an asynchronous program. It is designed for working professionals who may not always be able to be in the same place at the same time. But again, there is a blend here, right? So there is an expectation that much of your work will occur asynchronously, but there is an expectation that you will be present at the same time as others, particularly with your peers when you're engaged in group work. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. There's a fair amount of group work in this program. So in terms of instruction, so that occurs in any number of modalities, right? So recorded audio and video lectures are certainly one, but you also have interactive activities that are created by instructors in advance of the course, and that will require work on your and your classmates' part in order to engage in problem solving, in order to engage in design thinking, solutions to various problems that necessitate the use of educational technology or technology supported interventions, and that you will share with your instructors and other learners. So the instruction really does occur through a good number of modalities. As I've said, there is a good amount of online collaboration. So this is not a program in which you should think of yourself as a student acting on their own over time to complete the degree. And that's a serious consideration for you as a graduate student, right? You want to think hard about your interest in learning with others, collaborating with others, being a member of a group, working on projects with others, and doing that fairly regularly because it's a significant aspect of this program. In fact, it's a core learning objective for us. And then certainly discussion is a part of that, right? You have discussions regularly across all your courses in which you're talking about ideas of the day, in which you're talking about readings, in which you are presenting your findings from your group work or from the learning that you're doing as you're reading. You may be even leading some of those discussions across several courses. So that is a broad overview of what course delivery looks like in the program. Next slide, please. So here are some sample course titles. This is not all of them. If you do have access to all of our course titles via the program's external website, you can also request a copy of our student handbook in which you'll see all of the courses that we offer, along with some brief explanations of those courses. But these course titles give you a sense of the types of courses that we offer. So technology and the science of learning is a foundational course, right? So the learning sciences are at the foundation of the learning that you do in this program. And indeed, that's one of the first courses that you are required to take in the program, because it is the foundation of knowledge from which everything else builds. Fundamentals of design thinking. Design thinking is a critical aspect of all that we do in this program, and an essential learning objective. So not only in that course, but again, it's a foundational course. So you take that course early in your program, and then you will find yourself engaging in design thinking type exercises across multiple courses, and returning to the ideas and activities to which are introduced in that course. So again, these are, I won't go through all of these, but these give you a sense of the types of courses that, that we offer in the program. Next slide, please. So this is an example. This is not etched in stone, but this would be a typical program for a part-time degree-seeking student. So as you can see, this student is taking 2 courses a term, fall, spring, and summer. So this student would be done in 6 terms. Technology and the Science of Learning and Fundamentals of Design Thinking, as I mentioned, are foundational courses. We have students take them right at the beginning of their program. And then if you look at the other end, you can see Advanced Seminar and Advanced Applications, which are the 2 courses that constitute our capstone courses. So in the case of degree students, you're taking these 2 capstone courses, the seminar in which you are creating your portfolio, and Advanced Applications, which is the independent study part of your graduate program in which you're putting together your capstone project. For degree students. For certificate students, you are working on Advanced Applications. So again, certificate students are completing their certificate with an independent study and a capstone project, which brings together all of the learning that you've done through all of the courses that you've taken as part of the degree or certificate program. The other courses in between are some combination of electives. You can take up to 2 electives, and then other courses that we offer in the program. Many courses are offered multiple semesters. Some courses are offered only 1 semester per year, but you'll be consulting with an academic advisor to help you plan your schedule out, to help you plan your courses out as you go. Next slide, please. Okay, so a little bit on who we are. So the program is currently constituted, our 3 full-time faculty members. So those are the 3 people in the top row. Myself, Dr. Chris Devers, Dr. Josh Shushki. We are the 3 full-time faculty members. The rest are a core of adjunct instructors who represent the breadth, again, of this field of instructional design and technology. So as I've said, people come from a great many places in the field of educational technology, and that's represented by the people who are teaching our courses, the majority of whom have doctorates, either in instructional design and technology or related fields. So some of our adjuncts are K-12 school administrators, either principals, or assistant principals, people who work as school administrators at the level of the state, sometimes even nationally. We have adjunct instructors who are professional instructional designers here in the School of Education, at other divisions within Johns Hopkins University, and then at organizations outside of higher education as well. Several of our instructors work for the US federal government. And then we have a number of content area specialists, so people with expertise in math or literacy education, for example, who also have a focus on the use of digital technologies to support those content, to support teaching and learning in those content areas. Next slide, please. So, as I've noted, instructional design and technology touches a great many areas. The majority of our students are in the K-12 space, but many other students, 30 to 40% typically, are in higher education, either as faculty members or as staff, working as instructional technologists or instructional designers, or as media producers, or as curriculum developers. We have students who work as consultants in publishing, for example. We have students who work as consultants in informal or out of school education spaces. Again, we have students who work as instructional designers and media producers And periodically, we have people who are educational game developers or who are working in digital curriculum development, in publishing corporations, for example, or other places. Next slide, please. Okay, so the advantages of DALET: we are fully online, which increasingly is critical for people pursuing graduate degrees, right? Many students, particularly in education, are working professionals. The model here is not typically a student who is pursuing a degree full-time. It happens, but it's rare for us. Most of our students are working, right? And that can be a big advantage as you're doing your graduate work, because you have opportunities to connect what you're doing for work with what you're doing in your graduate studies, and you can do that almost immediately. It's not necessary. You don't have to be working in order to be a graduate student or certificate student in this program, but it can be very helpful. It can be challenging to be working full-time. You may have families, you may have other things going on in your lives, and so balancing these, there is work to be done around balancing these, but when you are able to balance them, it can be to your advantage to have a place into which you can begin to pour this learning you're doing, and vice versa. Bring your professional experience, bringing your own expertise through the work that back into the classroom to share with your peers, to share with educators. So they can be very, very powerful. As I've noted, educational technology is applicable to many fields. The faculty, our full-time faculty, and our adjunct instructors really represent a great range of professions, meaning that we have many, many skills and competencies and interests and professional networks to bring to bear, right? Part of what you're doing as a graduate student, you're not just learning new knowledge, but you're also tapping into networks. You're tapping into your peers' professional networks. You're tapping into your instructors' professional networks as ways to explore opportunities, as ways to get your foot in the door in certain places, as ways simply to ask questions of others from whom you might not very often have opportunities to ask questions. So that's a big advantage of a program such as this that brings people from so many different places. And finally, because so many of our students are in the K-12 space, we have a very strong emphasis on K-12 education, and we have a great deal of expertise, of cumulative expertise that we bring through our faculty, therefore making it a very strong program for K-12 educators. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm done with this piece.
Thank you, Dr. Diamond. So now we're going to continue by going over the application requirements. The applicants must submit a completed application, which can be found on the school's website. Keep in mind the application fee is $80. You'll need official transcripts from all institutions you may have taken courses, but did not receive a degree. So again, this is from all post-secondary institutions that you have attended. You'll need a 500-word essay. Please visit the school's website on the admissions webpage to learn more about the essay portion of the application. You'll need a current resume or CV, 2 letters of recommendation. We do prefer at least one of your references to be an academic reference from a former instructor or faculty. However, if you're unable to have one academic letter recommendation, we'll be able to accept 2 professional letters of recommendation. And lastly, the GRE is not required for this program. And there are additional steps you need to take in order to complete the application process. If you're an international student, you must submit the TOEFL or IELTS scores. And if your degree was completed outside of the US, you'll need to complete a course-by-course evaluation. Additional information can be found on the school's website. And tuition for the 2023-2024 school year is $1,025 per credit, plus there's a $20 per credit technology fee. So the cost per course is $3,135. And keep in mind, this excludes textbook, course materials, graduation, and registration fee. Additional fees apply and are charged separately from tuition. We encourage you to view our tuition and fees page on the school's website for the most up-to-date information on tuition and fees. And if you're interested in applying for financial aid for this program, we strongly encourage you to apply for financial aid when you start your application. The School of Education, we offer a limited number of partial need-based institutional scholarships each year. The SOE's endowed scholarship awards range on average from $800 to $3,000 per semester, and it's applied to tuition expenses beginning in the fall semester. Please keep in mind, to apply for the endowed scholarship, students must complete the FAFSA form. To learn if you qualify for the endowed scholarship or have any questions regards to financial aid, please visit the school's website. Thank you for attending the DALET virtual information session. So at this time, we would like to open up the floor for questions. And Dr. Diamond, while we wait for questions from students, we have some frequently asked questions that we get in the Office of Admissions. The first one is, do students need to have a background in education in order to apply for this program?
Thank you for that question, Sion. The answer is no. With that said, most of our students, so as I've said, most of our students are coming out of the K-12 education space, which means that they do have an education background, but not all of our students do. So it's not a prerequisite. It is helpful, however, to come in with a foundation of knowledge that sometimes can be assumed in some of the courses. Most of our courses are designed such that we're not making a great many assumptions about foundational knowledge, about human learning and development, or instructional design, or pedagogical practices, for example. Our expectation is that that's the learning that you're going to be doing in the program. As I've said, if you come in with some foundation of the knowledge in those areas, it can be very helpful. I and others are always happy if you are someone without an education background, without a formal education, by which I mean an undergraduate or a previous graduate degree in education. We're always happy to make some recommendations about, for example, readings that you may do before you enter the program, or some videos or other instructional activities in which you might engage before you come into the program, so that you develop some of that foundational knowledge, and perhaps that helps you to feel a bit more confident coming in. But again, it's not necessary.
Thank you, Dr. Diamond. We have a student asking, do you offer on-campus option in this program?
Currently, no, we do not. There is no on-campus offering for this program.
And Dr. Diamond, you mentioned that you have students who are working full-time, right, and attending school part-time. So approximately every week, approximately how many hours do the students allocate on the coursework while balancing going to work full-time and attending school part-time?
So this will, as you might imagine, this will vary from course to course, but on average, we tell students that they should expect for each course that you should really reasonably expect to spend 15 hours a week on your readings, on your individual assignments, on your group activities, on any development work that you might be doing. Now, that fluctuates from week to week. Some weeks it may be less, depending on the course. Some weeks it may be more, but you really should think about, as you're thinking about your life, as you're thinking about your work life, as you're thinking about your home life, that the workload around which you should plan is something like 15 hours per course. So you could imagine 25 or 30 hours per week if you are taking 2 courses as an average workload across the program.
Thank you, Dr. Diamond. It looks like we have a question on the TOEFL test. So is the TOEFL test waived if the bachelor's degree is from the US? So keep in mind, at the time of enrollment at the Johns Hopkins School of Education, if you studied full-time status for at least 2 years, 2 academic years in the US, you will be able to have the TOEFL exam waived. So again, in order to qualify for a waiver, you can locate the waiver form on the online application. So you'll be required to upload a short paragraph just explaining how you met the criteria. And then also you have to submit a transcript that shows you attended college in the US. So I hope that answered your question on that. And to wrap it up, Dr. Diamond, are you still accepting application for the fall 2023 start term?
Yes, we are. I don't know what the exact end date is for fall applications, but it certainly goes through July, I think. Is that right, Sion?
Yes, it is, definitely. So if you're interested in applying for this program, we highly recommend to submit your application as soon as possible. Again, if you have those, transcripts that are need to be evaluated, that takes a lot of time. So it's just if you can submit your your application as soon as possible, that'd be great. All right, so I'm going to actually move on to the next slide. So we have some very important contact information on this slide. So if you have any application questions, please reach out to my colleague, James McCarty. His email address and phone number is on the slide. And then any program related questions, please reach out to Miss Lisa McNeil. Her email address is on the slide as well too. Thank you again for your interest in the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Thank you to Dr. Diamond for being here and for the wonderful presentation. We look forward to hearing from you. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.